Many people think that Christianity is all about blind faith, that there really are not any kind of true reasons to believe that God exists or that the Christian scriptures are reliable. But is that really the case? I'm joined today by a Christian scholar, Dr. Travis Campbell, who's going to help address those questions. Travis, as a Christian scholar, what do you see as some of the more compelling reasons to think that Christianity is true?
Well, my favorite arguments for God's existence would be cosmological in nature, and you and I have done videos on the cosmological argument. But just in a nutshell, I think that it's obvious to anybody with common sense that whatever begins to exist has to have a cause. And Reasons to Believe has ferreted out a great number of reasons to think that the universe really did begin to exist. It seems to be the consensus of scientists now to say that the universe had an absolute origin. And even if there is a multiverse, then the multiverse had an absolute origin. So if whatever begins to exist needs a cause, and if the universe did begin to exist, the universe must have a cause. And in the nature of the case, that cause must transcend time and space and must also be personal. And I give reasons for the personality of this creator in the videos on the cosmological argument. Once the existence of a personal creator is established, then you pretty much have the God of the Abrahamic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And the question then becomes, which expression of monotheism is the most reasonable? And I think that the way to settle that issue is to look at the life and claims of Jesus of Nazareth. And you and I have also done videos on facts about Jesus that the vast majority of New Testament critics and historians believe are true of Jesus. And it turns out that those facts include things like the empty tomb, the post-mortem appearances of Jesus, and the faith of the disciples that Jesus had experienced the resurrection. And one of the things that we pointed out in those videos is that there are no plausible natural explanations of those facts. And it turns out that the resurrection hypothesis passes many of the critical historical criteria that historians use to assess what is a fact. And so even though the majority of scholars don't believe that Jesus rose from the dead, I think the Christian is well within his rights to affirm the resurrection of Jesus. And so if God does exist and that Jesus rose from the dead, thereby confirming his claim to be the Son of God, I think you have a very strong case that the core beliefs of Christianity are true.
You know, one of the things that I think is interesting is that working at Reasons to Believe, when I'm in front of an audience and I make a case for God's existence or the credibility of the Christian faith, many people would immediately find that evidence or those arguments compelling, and they ask this question: well, if there's such a strong case for God's existence or for the reliability of scriptures, then why are so many skeptics resistant to that evidence? And so maybe that's a little bit of an unfair question to ask you,
Yeah.
but why would you say that there's such resistance to the arguments that I think to be sound for the existence of a transcendent cause, the arguments for the resurrection? Why is there such resistance on the part of skeptics to those arguments in your assessment?
One answer is that it's person relative. So in one sense, you and I would have to go and talk to each skeptic and say, why isn't this a line of reasoning compelling to you? But if I can paint with a broad brush, which is always dangerous, I think that there's a general feeling among academics today that the idea of God has nothing to do with evidence or reason, that matters of faith are compartmentalized away from matters of fact and logic. And so to mingle those two realms is just not good at all. I think Stephen Jay Gould said that we have to have non-overlapping, I forget it.
Magisteria.
Yeah, that's right. Noma, non-overlapping magisteria. So faith is faith, fact is fact, never the twain shall meet. And I think that if you begin with that assumption, then really any line of evidence I give for you for God's existence or the credibility of the resurrection is going to ring a hollow sound to you, because you have already set up in your mind a compartmentalization that is just sort of there from the beginning and is resistant to any kind of evidence. I think in general, Pascal's statement is true, that what God has done for the human race is He has given evidences that are sufficient to bring to faith those who are looking for the truth with the open heart and open mind. But those evidences are also sufficiently vague so as not to compel those whose hearts are closed. And so I think that this may sound overly judgmental, but I think that the sinful hearts of unbelief is one of the main reasons why most people don't believe.